Alright, welcome back YouTube. This is the Army Showcase. This is the Royalist Army Showcase. I have in front of you guys 285 miniatures, all painted by me. Mixture of primarily Warlord, I'd say about 60%, maybe 55, and then we got about 40% of parries. And then we have some sprinkling of Foundry. I have a few Foundry Cavalry, I have a Foundry Cannon, and then I think around 6 to 8 Foundry Musketeers in there. So a little bit of Foundry, mostly Warlord, a good number of parries. So I'm going to start here, I'm going to pan over, and we'll look at, actually I might have to just move the whole tripod here, but we'll look at the beginning of the force here. Then I'll go over some of my thoughts. So what we got here in front of you is Prince Rupert's force. In the back, the very back corner there, your left, you can see the cannon that I showed off in yesterday's painting video. I did it in the blue to match Rupert's other regiments. Up in the very front, we have a 24-man unit of commanded shot, Warlord Plastics. In the middle there, we have a unit of pike and shot, 40-man. And then you can't really see them, so I'll have to pick up the tripod. But in the very, very back there, we got a 12-man unit of storming party. There's the flags. All flags are from Flags of War. I really like their website. It was easy to navigate and get the regiments and the flags that I wanted to get. Moving on. Right there on the left, we have King Charles with his Royal Standard. And then we have another 40-man regiment, Warlord Plastics. These guys are Newcastle's Whitecoats. And then, keep moving a little bit. Those guys right there are a 36-man Perry's Pike unit. So these are all Perry's. This is the first Perry's unit, all metal pikes. 36-man large unit there. So, and then once again in the very, very, very back there, we have the 6 casualty counters that I showed off yesterday. Moving on, we got the Western Force, or what I like to call my Western Force, little hodgepodge, probably not entirely historically accurate, although it could be. I know a lot of the Irish units came over and they fought, in the East and West, but primarily in the West, I think. And then obviously Montrose commanded a lot of the Irish units later. And that's what that first unit is. That's these guys right here. That's a 36-man unit of commanded shot, Irish Musketeers. I love those flags. The flags are amazing. Couldn't have been more happy with them. They are a mixture of Warlord medals and Foundry. So, pretty cool there. Really like them. Behind them is Hampton's guys. Those are all Parries as well. So it's a 40-man Perry regiment back there. All the Musketeers are fully armored, all the Pikemen are fully armored. And then all the Musketeers have musket rest, and some of them have tartans. Back behind them, we have Prince Rupert with his dog Boy, and of course the cannon. That's a medium Saker cannon, meant to augment Hampton's regiment. Right here we have the cavalry of the force. Up front, these are Crossiers. Like I said, primarily Parries with 3 Foundries sprinkled in there. I have them with the Prince Rupert standard there, and that is because Prince Rupert did have a unit of heavy horse, and these are to represent his heavy horse. And then behind them are the normal Warlord plastic kits, which is sword and pistols. So, yeah. So I'm going to put the camera back here in the middle, and then I can discuss how I feel about the project and whatnot. So some things learned. I feel like every time you do a project, unless you're like the Yorkshire gamer and you've literally painted 30,000 miniatures over the last 30-40 years, I'm definitely not at that level yet. So I'm still learning best practices, have you. So I painted this army. It took about 8 months in total to paint. I really should have had it done a month sooner, maybe even 2 months sooner, but I goofed off in January. And the things I have now figured out. Number one, I need to have at least like 75% of an army collected and piled, ready to go. Having to make several orders to finish an army is not the way to go. And to kind of piggyback on that, sourcing miniatures from like 5 or 6 different sources to try and save a little buck is probably not worth the time and hassle. Like making a Perry's order here, an eBay order there, a Foundry order another time. Like all those little orders, they add up in the time it takes you to receive your miniatures and when you can actually start completing your projects. So I think going forward, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have, first off, have the majority of the army collected, and it's probably going to only be from 1 or 2 miniatures companies. With the Persians, it's going to be First Corps, and First Corps doesn't have heavy barded horses for heavy cavalry units, and I'll probably go to New Line Designs for that, and then that's it. That is it. That'll be the army. That's probably what I'm going to do just going forward. Number 3, because that was kind of 1 and 2 there. Number 3, pikes. The Warlord pikes attacking, they are just a pain in the ass to store and transport. They really are. That the pikes break. I've already had 1 or 2 pikes of those plastic pikes break, and they're durable pikes, but they're still going to break, and then they just get caught on everything. Going forward, everything's going to be an upright pike, and I don't care whether that's Successor, Macedonian, ECW, Swiss mercenary pikemen of the late medieval. Doesn't matter. Everything is going to be upright pikes. And then number 4, the last thing I've really learned from this army is I'm really done painting crappy miniatures. Half of the army is Warlord plastics, and if they're a great value, and if you're using them exclusively for gaming pieces, and you're on a budget as well, they are. There's nothing wrong with them. But all of these plastic Warlords, the molds are from 2013. They're outdated. I told Holy Diver that they look like melted butter compared to the Perrys. And I stand by that statement. Compared to the Perrys, they look like melted butter. They're not as fun or easy to paint. They don't have the crisp details and the folds and the lines that the Perrys have, and that makes them harder to paint. Their metals are better, but even then, like some of the metal Irish guys, they weren't as good. But I think I'm really done buying plastic budget miniatures. I would rather just spend the dollars and get good miniatures that I want to keep, and more importantly, that I want to paint. That's the big thing there, because if I'm painting a miniature and it just becomes tedious, and I think that's a big reason why the project stalled out early on, is that painting those 40-man plastic regiments got really tedious and boring. As soon as I hit the Perry stuff, I was like reinvigorated, and I ended up painting like that 36-man Perry Pike unit that's right in front of the camera now in like less than a week, because I was so motivated just to paint, and it was such a joy. Same thing with the Hampton Regiment and the Crossiers. But the Perry or the Warlord plastics was just it was just a pain. So those are the lessons I've learned from this army. It's done. As far as its compatibility with play, I would say the only thing that's keeping this army from being a coherent, completed force is a unit of Dragoons. Dragoons were one of the one of the units that were really prevalently used in that conflict, and if you don't have them, it's kind of out of place. And I do plan on getting Dragoons. I'm doing this army review because I think at 285 miniatures the army is good for play, but I am going to be adding to it in the future. I think another 100 miniatures, maybe 130, will get it to where I really want it, to where I'll never want to touch it again for the rest of my life. And I'm going to do that all at Bicorn. I'm going to learn my lessons here, and I'm just going to place an order for Bicorn and just buy everything I want, 200 pounds, and then just paint it up. But for vanilla pike and shot games, I think it's good. I have 2 battalias here. I have an artillery piece for each of my 2 battalias. I have 3 cavalry units. I have 2 commanders. I have a mixture of command and shot, pikes, and pike and shot regiments. So I think I'm all good on those fronts. This force by itself isn't good enough for To Kill a King book. That requires a lot of units, and that's why I'm saying I'm going to have to add another 100 miniatures. Me and Holy Diver, ultimately our goal is to do the To Kill a King book. And really, I need 2 units of Dragoons, another unit of commanded shot, probably another 40-man regiment, and about 3 or 4 more artillery pieces. So, and of course a couple more commanders. So, I mean, you got to have a lot, and I think that book was more oriented towards like group games, 2v2s, 3v3s, that sort of thing, which makes it a lot easier because then you can share miniatures across several people. But it's just me and Holy Diver, so and he has 2 armies he'll be able to draw from. He has Covenanter Scots, and he has Royalists, and he'll be able to pick and grab from those armies to draw his force for the book, whereas I only have this force. So yeah, I think if I do that, I'll be pretty good. I'm gonna do the commanded shot will probably be King's or Queen's Lifeguard. I'll probably do a King's Lifeguard regiment, and I'll probably do King's Lifeguard Cavalry, and then 2 units of Dragoons. So, and I already have the flags for everything, more importantly. But yeah, so this is the army. I guess I'll end with doing some close-ups here. I'm gonna take the camera off the tripod here. Bear with me. Alrighty. And then we can end the video. Warlord Plastics. Almost had enough musket rest for everybody. Not quite. There's the Blue Coats Regiment. That's the first unit I painted. That came from the King and Country box set that I bought. Same thing with the Storming Party back there. That's my cannon. Heavy cannon. Then we have the Perry's Pikemen. Really like the way these guys turned out. Quite happy with them. Behind them, another Warlord Plastic Regiment. And I've showed all these guys off before, just not based. The King, who lost his head. The Casualties. Really like the way the Irish turned out. Yeah, and there's the awesome Hampton Regiment. Really like the color of these guys. And that's their cannon. The plastic Warlord Cavalry. Meh. Then we got some beautiful Perry Crossiers there, which look pretty damn good in my opinion. I particularly, I'll show these guys off, like the command figures. I really like how I did the command. I'm sorry guys, I'm trying not to be so shaky. There we go. I particularly like the command figures there. Really cool. So, that's the army, guys. Another project done. Another one to begin. So, probably be doing a video detailing my next project and getting your guys' opinions. So, until then, keep on painting.